It's pretty conventional knowledge that you want to surround yourself with the kind of people who will help you build the business you want to build. That having the right network is extremely important in building any kind of business, including a psychologist led private practice. I think that we don't often talk about the exact qualities and characteristics of the people that we actually need to surround ourselves with in order to be successful. This is something I think a lot about, and that is the topic of this Worth It Practice podcast episode today. When I think about who we surround ourselves with, I think about this in a lot of different contexts. You can think about it on social media. What Facebook groups are you in? You can think about this with podcasts. Whose content are you listening to? You can think about this in your own community. Which therapists do you hang out with? And you can even think about this in a broader sense. Which friends do you hang out with? What does your significant other say to you if you have one? And are there other entrepreneurs that you talk to? Who are the voices in your ear while you're building a business? And I have found that there are two different kinds of voices in my experience. One of these voices is the one I want to be around. This voice asks, how? It doesn't say, no, you can't. It asks, if you want to do this, then how? And that framework, that way of thinking through problems is much more productive and less scary than focusing on all of the reasons why something won't work. Think about your regular therapist Facebook group. How many conversations are you seeing about the industry is falling apart, venture-backed capitalism, AI, and a lot of the voices are saying this is a disaster. But the real voices, the ones you want to listen to, are not just saying this is bad. They're saying this is how we can be successful in these circumstances. There's not an immediate idea that if things are hard, we can't do them. Instead, there's an acknowledgement with solutions that are focused on improving them. Now, I'm not a Pollyanna. I would consider myself like a rational optimist. So I don't go for bad ideas. I don't feel like it's always important to be positive. But I do think that if you're in a real situation that is not going well, the questions we need to ask ourselves are about how we're going to solve the problem instead of with a deep focus on the fact that we don't like the way that it's going. Here it is. Here's the reality. How do we move forward next? My favorite people who tend to have this kind of insight a lot are the people in my EO forum. And I just went on a retreat with them a couple weeks ago. So if you follow my Worth It Practice newsletter, you know that I was in El Salvador with EO. But what I'm going to do now is explain to you a little bit about EO and who it attracts, and then the kinds of conversations that people have within this forum group that I'm a part of and how they really help me in my business. So Entrepreneur Organization is for all kinds of entrepreneurs. And the idea is that it's supposed to support entrepreneurs and their growth as humans and in their business. So when you're in EO, you're working on yourself, you're working on your family, and you're working on your business. Really, the framework makes sense that really your business can only grow to the place that you personally can take it. And I 100% subscribe to that. So there's lots of like bringing in cool speakers and going to cool events. But the real value is having a forum, which is your specific group of people that you have a lot of emotional intimacy with. You share your real struggles, your real concerns. They share with you. You go to them. They share their experiences to help you figure out what you're going to do next. So it's a place where you can really, really connect. And when we go on a once yearly retreat together, all of that is intensified. So we're able to work and grow and work with a facilitator to help bring out some of these concepts. But it's also the late night conversations where you're talking to people who are so incredibly successful in ways that you are not, and really learning about the way that they think. So the conversations that happen in EO are often conversations, and it's particularly in my forum, are often conversations about how to solve problems. So someone comes with a problem, and the conversation is not like, well, it's just going to be terrible. It's about how that person could move forward with an assumption that they can move forward from it, that there is some path to the next step. And it also that that person is capable and able to move forward and will figure it out. The goal of the group is to support them in that process. When you talk to people whose fundamental belief is that problems can be solved with the right thought process, the right resources, the right strategy, the right support system, it helps you to open your eyes to what can be for you. The modeling of watching people move through their businesses that way reminds you of your own capability. Like, I guarantee you that I could walk into my forum and put out a very, very, very ambitious goal. Like a goal I personally don't have right now. Like, let's say I told them I would like to grow my therapy practice to a $50 million business. No one there would say, well, that's impossible. The state of the industry won't support it. What they would say is, how? Like, what's your plan? They would sit there and let me present a solid plan, and they would pick it apart. But they would pick it apart with love and with the goal for how it could become possible, because they would know that if I were presenting something like that it was important to me and somehow feasible. And then the group mind would come together to help me make that a real thing that could happen. Again, not from Pollyanna, but from just a pure business perspective. So that's the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. You want to avoid people who pick apart every single idea that you have, not from the place of, I want to point out the potential issues, because you have to know the potential issues, but saying that as a way of discouraging you or forgetting to frame it in such a way where you can actually move forward with a really solid plan. So it's worth auditing. So think about some of the places that you are. Are you in Facebook groups where everyone is just lamenting things going wrong? Does that make you feel good? Does it make you feel confident in your business? Maybe you find some people who are building something really cool that you admire, and you say, how is this person thinking? What is this person's strategy? How is this person approaching these kinds of challenges in a way that I want to emulate? And how can I grow from that? Who do you know around you who is building a business that they love? And even though they might be building in a different industry, you respect the way they are doing it. That's the person you want to talk to. You want to learn from their thought process. It could be another practice owner, but it could also be somebody doing something completely different. They could be opening a restaurant or a daycare or a chemical plant. They could be doing anything. And if you look at how they're living their life and running their business and you think there's something going on there, that is the input and insight you want to have. Is there a Facebook group where people generally say positive things to each other and their advice is helpful instead of derogatory? That's the kind of space you want to be in. It's really, really worth it to build a network and an environment for yourself where you know that people are rooting for you and also where they're going to ask you how. And if you need just one person who's going to approach you like that, I'd say that's pretty much my approach to consulting. Am I going to be real with you if an idea won't work? 100%. But I'm going to ask you how you're going to work with it, how you're going to work around it, how you're going to get to the place that you want to go. Because there are so many cool ways of building a private practice, and there's so many strengths that we have as psychologists. So I think the answer is usually somewhere in the how. We just need to problem solve in order to find out. So I hope that this is helpful. I feel really excited, really pumped coming back from this retreat to do some new cool things within Thriving Child Center. I also was pretty unplugged during it, so I got to see everything that went right and not so right when I was gone, which is a different valuable exercise. But I will talk about that in another podcast episode, and I hope you have an amazing week.